Hi there everybody, this is MAW0001 again with another review video, and this is the third week now for DC Comics number 2s of their new 52. Don't worry about the writing on the screen, I'm just trying something new out just so it's not so boring for people to see a blank screen whilst I'm talking here as an introduction. As always with these videos, the opinions and the views on this video are my own. Please, by all means, go out, pick up the comics, regardless of what I say. This is just my view on what the comics are and that have come out from DC this week. The best thing you can do is go out and make up your own opinion on these comics, and make sure that the comics that you buy and the comics that you read are the comics that you enjoy and the comics that you love. Now, with these videos, we start off with the worst, and I don't think there's going to be much surprise for people out there. It's Red Hood and the Outlaws. Scott Liddell just does not seem to know what he's doing with these characters. Roy Harper and Jason Todd are two of the most annoying characters in the DC universe at the moment. If I had the fighting skills of Batman, I could quite happily go into the DC universe and punch out both of them, because they just annoy me so much in this comic. And what they're doing with Corey, she just seems that she's being portrayed like a high-class hooker or a madame or something like that, you know. And you couple bad storytelling and bad character writing with an artist that seems to want to draw everybody like they're crack addicts. It just makes the whole comic really unbearable to read and really, really hard to slog through. And it's just a no-winner for me. Legion of Superheroes. There's not much I can say about this comic because there's not much to this comic. And DC seem to be doing this with a lot of their reissue comics for the reboot. They had a really good run on it. Look at Superboy, Supergirl, Legion of Superheroes. The previous series was really good. Now with the reboot, they just seem to have lost their way with these characters and the stories. And you put it together with an artist that seems to want to draw everybody like they're made out of Lego. Everybody is square in this comic book. Maybe that's what everybody looks like in the 31st century. I don't know. Maybe humans evolve into these square beings. But it's really off-putting when you're trying to read a comic when everybody looks like they're made out of Mega Blocks. It's just a non-starter with me, I'm afraid, with this one. Next we have Captain Manhattan. Captain Atom. Come on, we all know it. This is Dr. Manhattan. Just DC obviously can't use the name for it for some reason. Even this is an origin issue for Captain Atom. Even the origin issue for this version of Captain Atom is near enough the same as Dr. Manhattan's. It just doesn't work for me. There was an interesting bit on there where Captain Atom could see all the text messages coming towards him from all the Wi-Fi and mobile phones and that, but 2 pages does not a great comic make. Plus, as well as that, the last 2 pages were clearly ripped off from John Carpenter's The Thing. It just doesn't bode very well for this comic, I'm afraid. And it's only issue 2, so Next up, DC Universe Presents. It's another non-runner. It's just not as good as issue 1. I mean, issue 1 wasn't particularly good, but this is just not that good. I don't really care about the Deadman character. I've read Deadman before in previous stories and in previous comics, and I did enjoy the character. This version of him, he does seem to be very whiny, and it's obviously I don't know what it's like to be dead or a intangible ghost that nobody can see, but I can think of some fun aspects of it. I don't think they'd be whiny all the time. Plus, you've got an artist here that does look like they've only just come out of art school. It's very bitty, the artwork. It's not really clear and clean cut, I'm afraid. I'm going to get shot down for this one. Justice League. In the UK, there is a saying, when you have somebody who tries to portray themselves as being better than they actually are, and that saying is all fur coat and no knickers. And this is what Justice League is to me. Yes, there's some adventure, yes, there's some excitement, and there's lots of action in it, but that's all there is. There's no character to this comic. And I'm just sitting there reading this comic and thinking to myself, you idiots. You're all a bunch of idiots. And the way there are certain things in there that they've had Superman say, and I'm just thinking to myself, wow, Superman is really dumb. You know, it's just not a really good comic for me. Sorry, people, but there you go. And another one is Supergirl. It is a cliche all the way through. Supergirl lands on Earth. Supergirl meets Superman. Big misunderstanding. Big super fight. And then, oh, I've made a mistake. Let's not fight. Let's talk together and talk to each other and see what's going on. You know, it is a typical cliched superhero team-up comic. The artwork in it is nice, but the previous Supergirl series was a million times better than this series is. The only redeeming feature I can think about this comic is I do like the redesign for Supergirl, but did they really need to reboot the character to give her this costume? I don't think so. So yeah, Supergirl is pretty dull. Yeah. Next we have Wonder Woman. I can see where they're going with this comic. I can see what they're trying to do with this comic by bringing in all the Greek mythology and the pantheon of the legends of, you know, all the Greek gods. I just wish they would hurry up with it. It's a very dull comic that's just plodding along at the moment, and it's another one of those comics where you've got an artist in it that just doesn't fit the story as far as I'm concerned. You know, maybe if I had a better artist, it wouldn't have been such a hard slog for me to read it. But you know, it's just one of those comics where I'm just not getting it again, and it's just not happening with me, I'm afraid. Next we have Catwoman. We all know the character of Catwoman is a sexy character. From the very first comic time she appeared in a Batman story, we have known Catwoman is a very sexually charged sexual character. Do we really need it, you know, forced onto us with this comic? I'm not a prude, you know, I mean, I'm not, but this just seems to be pandering to the prepubescent or hormonally challenged teenagers that I think DC are trying to get hold of at the moment. And I can only think that the reason why this comic would be selling would because you would have, like I said, hormonally challenged teenagers going, wow, you can see Catwoman's bra in this, and she's nearly naked in the first panel. Yeah, not a good comic, sorry. Birds of Prey. Better than the first issue. The artwork in it is gorgeous. I can't fault the artwork. It's really nice. Not too sure about the costume designs for Black Canary and Katana. You know, but there's just something missing about this comic. There's just something not quite clicking with me with this comic, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because Gail Simone's not writing it, or what, but there's just something missing from this comic, and it's really annoying because I think it could be a really good comic. It could be at least in the top 5 DC comics of, you know, of the month. But there is just, yeah, just not gelling well with me at the moment. Hopefully number 3 will be better. You know. Next is Nightwing. Nightwing is Daredevil. They've even changed his costume so it's more redder. Excuse me. It's an interesting story, interesting concept, nice artwork, but it is Daredevil. Even down to the little bowler weapons that he uses. It's just that this character can see, and he hasn't got, sonic superpowers. It's okay. It filled 10 minutes of my life with interesting stories, but it just wasn't the best comic of this week, and not the best comic that DC's bringing out at all by far. Next, we have Green Lantern Corp. This was pretty good. I think I remember slating the first issue of the reboot of Green Lantern Corp. This one wasn't too bad. There was some nice action. I think I can see where this is trying to go to with this comic. It was pretty good. There was some, real heartfelt moments in there, especially when there was a point where one of the characters turned around and said, "How do you bury a planet where the whole population has been completely wiped out for no reason whatsoever?" It is, marking up to being a really good comic. The artwork is still a bit hit and miss for me, but yeah, really good. If you've got a spare $2.99 or however much your comic shop sells your comics for, if you've got a spare one of that, pick it up because it's pretty good. Next we've got Blue Beetle. Wow. The only reason why this isn't number one is because it's only just not as good as number one. I was completely blown away by this comic. It is like the 21st century version of Spider-Man, and I can only imagine that reading this comic was possibly what it was like reading Amazing Fantasy number 15 when it first came out. This just hit everything. New person gains superpowers. He hasn't got a clue how to use them. Everything is happening all at once. Supervillains are going for him and his friends. He's kind of trying to save his friends and himself and figure out what's going on, and it is just a brilliant comic. Millions and millions of miles better than the first issue of this. If you haven't got Blue Beetle, pick this comic up because it is really good. And now we come to the number one comic this week, Batman. It's just carrying on from the previous one. Fantastic comic, fantastic artwork, and I've likened this to Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns because the artwork in it reminds me so much of that. It is a great story, and it's one of those Batman stories that I could quite happily read again, like The Dark Knight Returns. The action sequences in there are just gorgeous, and it's just full of mystery and intrigue and what you expect from a Batman comic, and it is brilliant. If you haven't got this comic, if it's not on your standing orders, it should be because it is flipping good. Right, well, there you go. That's my reviews for the new 52 number 2s of DC. Thank you all for watching. Thanks everybody who subscribed and who comments. I love to hear people comment on my videos. I try to answer everything and everybody says to me. And yes, I was. Do you mind? Go on. No, you're not. Go on. Go away. Sorry about that. Yeah. Thanks for watching. And again, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to read these comics or if you've got any questions for me, please leave comments at the bottom. And thanks again. Ta-ta for now.